Hello, if you're joining us in the recording. I'm enjoying so much that we've just had a beautiful round of check-ins, and there's a real tenderness here and some excitement about the conference coming up this weekend. And had, meaningful sort of I've had meaningful reassurance to be able to hit record. So it's a shorter recording today. I've had some lovely support to trust, to lean into trust. And we had a conversation briefly about open space, and that there is vulnerability for me in open space because there was a sense that this is new territory, to open it up to us, to whatever the energy wants to bring through for us as a collective. That if we show up, the energy will show us what is wanting to come through us as a group. And that there was vulnerability in that for me, because I've been a bit of a driver. And Shez has offered to ask me a question as a part of getting connected to why I've called the conference, I think. So we're going to start there, and then we might do a round of, feedback maybe. We'll see.
Well, it was actually a question that Irene asked, which was, well, that relates to the open space, the connection between, your needs in the open space. So that was, and maybe you've just shared that about being a bit of a driver, and that open space was a way of you kind of releasing the control. I remember you clenched your fists and sort of opening it up. And then there's another piece about your need and your purpose in calling the conference, which is another kind of vulnerable piece for you. The why.
Yeah, thanks. It really comes back to, I suppose, my longing for the organisation as a community to be collaborative. My hands. That there's openness here, there's collaboration here, and that I noticed that I signed up for the co-op course, and then I had this major sort of reflection, like, but what if nobody wants a co-op? Like, what if I'm talking about co-op and think it's a great idea, but no one else really wants a co-op? What if I go and spend 10 weeks at this course and then that's not what everyone really wants? So there was this clear message in that, in terms of strategic development. It's like, stop, just stop. Like, ask everybody to come together so you can hear the energy. And then when there's clear energy, then if there's a yes around having a co-op, then go and do that if that's what the organisation, if that's what the community is wanting. That would be a structural piece that would be helpful. Then there's a clear yes, but there was no clear yes. And that was really where the stop came. It was like, the way that I held the retreat was necessary. And now there's like a next layer of development that I can't do by myself, that I can't drive. It actually, there's a, for me to be in truth around my longing for true collaboration and community friendship and doing this together, is not that I'm going to step all the way back, which is what I think I did do at the beginning, is when I went, oh, hands off the wheel, and went, let's just do open space, and stood right back and like went, and then I had the sense of, oh, it's all like, oh, I should catch it. Like I should grab. So there is this sense of, there has been a tension between knowing how to, it's like a little bit like that parenting a late teenager. Like you want to have your hands off the wheel enough that the teenager feels like they really got it, but you're still there. And it's not quite right, because this is a community being born in a new way. Like, and then I say that and I go, well, we've got such history also. There's been collaboration and there's been community already. It's just been a beautiful little pocket of us. And there's now a sense of like invitation and willingness to grow beyond the little pocket that we began, and where we began, and plant some more seeds and grow something wonderful. So I'll just take a pause there. How is that for you, Shez?
I heard in the co-op piece a real sense of care for yourself about, or did I? Is this what I'm hearing about? This is my sense of investing time in something and not knowing who's with you in that, and wanting to really, I don't know, kind of slow down and look around and go, well, who's with me? What's and what is coming alive in the group? That actually, and the conference maybe is an opportunity for that to come through, like perhaps as an inquiry, as we inquire together of what I was yeah, almost like what the field of this group is, what's arising and can arise from there if we hold a space rather than hold a program.
Yes.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm getting this sense that the idea of open space for you has all this openness and letting go of the wheel. I get that, but it needs a linchpin. It's that facilitator thing, and it's what is creating the holding space. And Shez was talking about questions, and that having a specific question that is the holding space for that open space. And yeah, there's a facilitator in the background, but a good facilitator steps back. My heart says, Karen, I love you. You're trying to fight your nature. You want to be in there. You want to facilitate. It's part of your core. And how do you let go but still hold the space? And I see that as, you know, part of what's happening.
Thank you. It's my growth. I'm on a learning edge here, very much so. Thank you. And there's also a beauty in that. What is the question? What is the calling question for the open space? And yeah, I've spent some time thinking about that over the weekend, which I'm willing to share as the next couple of slides. But I wondered about, hearing if there's anything else alive before I go to do that.
This one thing that sort of kept going on in my mind was the way knows the way. And that's one of the things that you brought. And so perhaps not needing to be too concerned about that. And the other was just something I noticed about your background and your image. It's very balanced, you know, like, so I just thought that was interesting. So there's a balance between the holding and the strength and holding of the intention of it and allowing it to flow. It's a balance.
Thank you. I adore that. And that's what I think the trust is, actually, is trusting myself to hold the tension between, and it's a healthy tension between the letting it flow and the having enough structure that it supports us and that the space feels held. And it's just new territory for me in this sort of the growth that I've been doing to really claim this part of me, because previously I think I've been I've made my facilitator driver, I've made her a bit wrong, because she's got me into trouble at times for being too zealous or too emotionally passionate and not connected with how it is for other people and how it is for me, really. Like, I can get carried away in my inverted commas, and the sense I have of, this is just new territory of trusting my balance. Like, even giving up coffee in the last few weeks, like just continually attempting to do the growth that will have me be able to be sensitive enough to holding this energy, this beautiful energy, and being responsible enough to myself too. Thank you, Shez, because there is a piece here about, like, I saw myself doing 10 weeks of study on a co-op program and thought, you know what, I've done this sort of thing before, where I've raced off down the track and thought, well, it'll be useful, people will want it, you know, it'll happen, like, and not actually stop long enough to really check in. So big sort of leap forward for me in terms of self-care, as well as really being honourable to the intentions here.
A clarifying question, Karen, are you still doing that training?
I've enrolled, and there is a first class on this week, and I had thought, well, perhaps as a gentle possibility, I would attend the first class and actually collect a little bit more information about the course and collect a little bit more understanding of it, and then bring that to the conference, so that if there's questions about doing that co-op course and learning more, that I could answer a couple of questions maybe. So I've made a compromise with myself about not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but just going to the first class and collecting a little bit of information and just seeing if it, you know, what's available to us by me attending. So it's a different approach.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking. Yeah.
Barbara's unmuted.
Am I? Yeah, good. It's just really alive when you said you're staying in your truth early on. And I feel like this is something very unique about this group and how you're trying to model for us that, and where is it? Where is the edge of my truth? Have I stepped outside it? Do I need to come back? Am I, you know, and I adore how transparent you are in that process. And yeah, that seems part of it. So thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. That's why I was feeling vulnerable. That's why it took so long to do our check-in round. There is a courage in authenticity in this sort of domain of collaboration. And I'm wanting to say, well, I don't know that I've seen a lot of it modeled outside in the world yet. I've seen it in retreat settings. I've seen it in, you know, in like a workshop setting with, you know, facilitators where there can be a sense of like collaboration in an open space. And I've seen it in that, but I haven't seen it in growing a community like this. Yeah, and yet I hope there are other places where it's happening. I'm sure there are. And there's a trust in me that for whatever reason I feel called, and that there's enough energy here to seed something. There's enough energy here to sort of be appreciating each other's authenticity and growing that and seeing what grows through that, through us. As a contribution to women living on purpose and living in their power and having a sense of collaboration and support to do the work that's meaningful to them. And I think we're up against a few things. Like I noticed that in the just short recent past, I've been doing a bit of digging about my own, the impact of patriarchy in my own world. Like actually mourning that I let patriarchy be a bit more present in my raising of my children, than I would have liked it to be, even though I thought I was quite liberated and clear, strong woman, mother. I don't know that I was as much as I thought I was when I look back and I see some of the ways I let patriarchy determine how things would go. And that I acquiesced a bit more often than I would have liked. And I think that's part of it. It's like wanting to bring true power through, not the power that was the power I tried using when I was up against forces like patriarchy or capitalism and the sort of pushing through that I would do to try to have a voice. I tell myself I think I was yelling from a disempowered place and then trying to put a pretty mask over the front of it so that I could like be a little bit, you know, encouraging and manipulative in trying to get things done. That this is the stuff I'm wanting to shed so that we just stay in our authentic power and in our truth telling, and that as we do that together, we inspire and encourage each other to stay in that and be less swayed by the way the world is showing up right now, because it can be a bit scary to look out the window and actually see the way the world is attempting to navigate power at the moment. I think we can do better. Yeah, to you, Shez.
Oh, I feel torn. Part of me wants to go one way, part of me wants to go another, but I was wondering whether now is a time for you to share the why, you know, the what, like your need and purpose for this conference.
Yeah.
Because that's perhaps the linchpin that Cheryl's pointing to. And
yeah.
the other,
yeah, go.
well, the other piece that's really clear for me is that this is a point of transition for you, shifting from being the one that's the driver to opening it up and letting go of that sense of control. Not totally, but you know, you've created this conference and there's a structure, there's all sorts of things in place. And it occurred to me that you're creating of your office, you know, like having a space to have an office is part of this. I'm just joining the dots from what you shared before, you know, and you turned your computer and showed us your new office space. So that's just my alive sense of what this conference is marking, is a transition from a kind of I held to a we hold. I'm rubbing my lip because it's like, oh, that just came out of my mouth without me seeing it on my screen, and I've got goosebumps. It's sort of, this is the adventure that I'm living, is stepping forward and speaking up without knowing what I'm going to say or what's going to come out of my mouth, but just giving voice to the energy actually that's moving in me. So I feel in a place of some vulnerability too, and I'm reframing it as adventure. That's the quality that I'm playing with. So yeah.
Thank you. I like that, the reframe of the vulnerability into adventure, because there's a lot of aliveness to be in your truth telling and in your authenticity, and just trusting that whatever's meant to happen, including disagreement, including direction that you didn't see coming, like that's part of the adventure.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, I think there's a couple of things that sort of fell into place for me that were important. One of them was a conversation I had with Irene about the finances, and that then I spoke with the fellow Brian Doricott from the ACU uni, and he was sort of saying, well, you know, as your JobKeeper goes down, you know, do you have a plan where you start to earn a part-time income or something to start to replace that in the new year with Wise Women Rising? And I said, well, I don't have a plan really. And it would be good to have one, I suppose. And it would be lovely to have some part-time income from the work of holding. And there is a job as a manager that still clearly needs to be done if we continue to want to hold this space and to continue to have it be a structure. And I actually own that it's not necessarily my long-term view to stay in that community manager role, that I'd also love to be having others come and start to learn some of the tasks of that role so that others can be paid to do parts of that task as well, so that there might be more than one part-time role that becomes available out of the vision. And part of the vision was, well, it's not only about maybe charging a membership fee to be able to be included in the membership, that maybe a fee is an idea, but also that we apply for funding and things like that. So there was some structural pieces. It was like, well, do we want to be a co-op? How are we going to look at structuring income? Are we going to be co-owners in that income generation? Like, how are we going, like, so structurally and also strategically? Because when I got connected to, okay, well, the structural pieces are a little bit unclear, we probably need to do some work on that. Then it got to, but the excitement I have is that I've been dreaming like what's possible for this incredible organization of women. I've been having dreams in my head about, you know, like a wonderful March, International Women's Day, International Women's Week, you know, like starting to dream of what's possible that we could do during the month of March as a bit of an introduction to even more community members, and maybe doing some more, having some more women to trade with. And so I've been dreaming these sort of strategic visions as much as structural. It's been like, well, I don't want to do this by myself. Actually, what I'd love to do is have some play, and let's dream together like a vision for what Wise Women Rising could do, could contribute. And that would come from our needs personally as much as it would like what's possible. So some bright blue sky dreaming, or how did we say it over the weekend, Shez? It was like imagining who we are in the future and then looking backwards to see what's the gap and how do we close the gap? Like imagining ourselves in the future and then going, wow, you know, what are we calling? What's calling through us to want to create? So yeah, it was about dreaming together actually. So it came back to like need and purpose for the conference was like, can we dream together and get a clearer shared vision? And if we do that and have a clearer shared vision, there'll be a reason for the structure. There'll be a reason to have a community manager. There'll be a reason to have, you know, either a co-op structure or whatever structure, a company structure, or however we do it. There'll be a reason to do all of that. But until we've got a really compelling, like, oh, I want to be a part of that, that's going to be awesome vision, then yeah, together, then it seems like I was putting the cart before the horse. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Shez?
Yeah, and you mentioned yesterday when we spoke, you mentioned integrity, that sense of that collaboration, and yeah. So I just got, it's like the transition from the one to the.
Yeah, to having many dreamers dreaming what's possible, and the creative power of that.
Yeah,
and
to see what rises from that.
And it doesn't mean that I can't share what I've been dreaming. And
no, absolutely not. In fact, do you
be in a playful place where we just share?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's a place as well for the hubs. Each of the hubs brings a particular flavor as well. And one of the things that Cheryl and the Arts Hub and I were talking about was that the recording didn't get across to YouTube and get published. I'm sorry about that, because we took a little clip at the end of last week's meeting about an audio clip about the fact that each of the hubs could provide something in open space, and that the Arts Hub could just provide a creative place for some creative ways of addressing this curiosity, and that the NVC Hub could do the same, bring something that could support some creative, that there's flavors in the community already, and those hubs could bring some structure there themselves. But when I tried to convert it to audio and upload it, it didn't work on Facebook, so that's why it didn't happen. It was a tech.
I just saw that as a bring a plate to the smorgasbord kind of.
Yeah, and it came up for me.
And collaboration being part of the cooking of the plate, on the plate would be a collaborative offering to a collaborative space. So.
Yeah. I'll share the couple of slides briefly because it's nearly checkout time, so I just want to respect everyone's time today. Let me do that.
I just had a thought about, I'm wondering, since this is only a half hour recording, I was wondering whether Irene, Barbara and Cheryl would have time to go a little bit longer if we need to. How would that be? Is there anybody that has an urgent need to leave at one? I know you're looking forward to your lunch, Irene, but if I could just hear from each of you.
Well, I may have someone calling, and if they come, then I would need to go.
Yep, okay. Cheryl?
A little bit longer is fine, yeah.
Are we like 5, little bit meaning 5 or 10 or?
See how it goes. That's what happened.
Barbara?
I could probably go 5 or 10. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. How's that for you, Karen?
That's great. Fantastic. Thank you. I will not spend time here, but I will bring this a little bit more in the conference about this is what's happening in my head, is that I'm addressing this model. When I'm talking about the structural elements of the community growth and the strategic, like where are we headed, and what are the practical things? Well, that's having a community manager that can build our documents and different things. And that the cultural piece for me is about how we communicate and some of that compassionate NVC work that we're doing. And so there's dimensions that are in my thinking based on this model, that I'm bringing to the conference. So I've been working on some wording to try to give like a starting point for the need for this conference, like why we're being called together. And it's finding an inspiring shared vision. So it's to find an inspiring shared vision that's in alignment with midwifing the precious work of wise women. Something that has us go, yes, I can't wait. That's going to be awesome. I want to play. I want to be part of that. So that's the proposal. Yes, Cheryl.
It's flashing at me. Why isn't that WOWW?
Like a wow, wise women.
WY. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I really wanted it to be a wow, like woo, woo. That's the sort of excitement. That's the sort of excitement that I'm hoping we come up with something that goes, oh yeah, that's like wow. That's like wow outside the normal. Let's do that. Yeah, and so need and purpose sit really together, like they're two halves of the wholeness of the center, the heart space of the conference. So having the need and then having the purpose together. So the purpose for me was deepening community integrity by nurturing the ground together. So nurturing not only the vision, but actually by being together and being collaborative space that we're actually practicing. We're in the practice of the work of being in a collaborative community, deeply in our own integrity. And as we do that, we get more structural integrity to the foundations of the community. We get more some more practical integrity, and strategic integrity, like how we're starting to manifest is not just pie in the sky, it's actually pie in the sky, and it's got some structural and foundational strength to it because we're in the practice of the work of showing up together and letting the energy come through us, and letting it be a powerful motivator for us to be in our truth and then see what it's like when we all stand in our truth together. So I feel powerful in just naming it that way. That feels awesome. So there's some of the structural pieces that the community manager role that I've run around doing in the last week to help support the structural side is thinking about some of the timing, and like allowing for a 10 o'clock arrival and a 10:30 start for the first session, so that we actually have half an hour to just fluff about like which sessions are we going to run first, which ones fit in the morning, which ones might fit in the afternoon. And I think in terms of session naming, we might do some more of that on the Friday night. So Friday night, we might do a bit more like a bright future dreaming type process. And we might do some breakouts and actually think in small teams and dream some of the sessions we might like to create, and then bring those sessions to Saturday morning so that we can then start to map them into some sort of schedule for the weekend. Is there any seconds or feedback on that at this point?
I just had a flash of inviting people to connect with what their need is coming to the conference. Like, what are they?
Yeah, to do that pre-work would be extraordinary, because then when you come to the Friday night, I think that'll be part of how we land, is like, what's your need for being here? How is that? How are you in service to your needs by I think it would be part of our connecting to our own sense of purpose and contribution.
I think I don't know. What came to me was seeing us do it as a short process together in
Are you meaning back at the purpose piece, this like actually getting clearer together about the need and purpose as a group together?
Oh, no. No, it was more like, why am I here? And it may not be necessary. Well, I saw it as a pre-piece to the dreaming. Maybe it's part of, maybe it's a question that's inside that process about, so why am I here? And,
that makes sense. That makes sense. Awesome. So yeah, some structure in terms of timing and of things. And look, that timing may blow out and may not occur like that, and that's all right too. We'll trust that we can navigate the timing as best we can. And I've created, because in open space, like Shez was saying last week, there's usually a notice board where you can pop up the different sessions and then move them around. If you realize that there's a session running that you want to go to and you were going to offer something, you can move your session to somewhere else. I've created a digital notice board on Trello, which I'll send everyone the link to, so you can click open and have a look at what the session descriptions are in each of the sessions. Or if you're not part of creating the session offering and you want to check, or if you want to move things around, we'll have a notice board at least as a structural piece. And I've created a harvesting document so that it's a 1 page, but usually if we were in person, I'd be drawing up some harvesting sheets like this so that we could have some like big play pads to write different actions or ideas or questions or insights, things we'd be playing on big whiteboards or white paper together. And so this is my my best attempt to come up with something as a surrogate to that is having at least a Word document that everyone can download and be typing into. Someone can be harvesting as responsible for harvesting, or you can do harvesting as groups, and just, you know, all be writing in the document so that each breakout, each session has its own capture to share back with the large group. And that's it. That was just, I've just wanted to put a few little slides together to start to conjure. And it's really big balloons, thank you, from me in terms of support. Like, it feels like a wonderful, joyful, energizing excitement to be looking forward to for next weekend, for this weekend coming. So,
she's back. I noticed that you'd gone, Cheryl, and I thought, oh, has she left us or has it dropped out?
I think only so many spots can go on the when the
were you there all the time? You were just on the next page. Oh, okay. I'm with it. Thanks, Karen.
No worries. So it's 2 minutes past. Should we have a checkout and just see if there's anything else that came up from that short slide presentation?
Have we got time for 2 rounds? One to hear what's alive in people about what you've just shared, and then a checkout.
Oh, we can do it like that. If I suppose we can do it like that.
People could shoot. Yeah, you just shared a lot, and I wanted to give some space to some sense of you being seen and heard for all of that.
Thanks for the acknowledgement. And there's joy here. Like, you know, it's joyful for me to be pottering away in the background, making Trello boards and capture, sort of, you know, doing fun things like, you know, designing harvesting sheets, and like, that's just fun. I love doing that because I'm imagining us all being together and finding these things useful. So yes, yeah, I enjoy those contributions.
Yeah, and it's part of the structure that holds them.
Yes, yeah, this is part of why I'm valuing having that model, because it's like, yeah, there is value in having those structural pieces. They still matter. Like, they still got to come with us. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I'd love to hear from Barbara, Cheryl, Irene.
So I'm feeling reassured with the structure that you've presented. It just calms me lovely to go, oh, okay, so session times are, even if it could blow out, it's just, it meets a lovely need. And I think a need for some structure and idea of when will I have my lunch and important things like that.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%. Yes. Fantastic. Thank you.
Lots of work and lots of structure. I'd love to see some play space in there. I didn't feel like there was a play space, and I felt like I was back in a school meeting. And I'm sorry, really honest, but it didn't entice me. I didn't feel like I was being invited to play, and I want to play. And that's where I dream, and that's where I connect. And I know you need the balance, and how do we integrate that? I don't know. That's what's alive for where I'm at.
Super important. And, you know, originally for in my dreaming of that structure, I had session, play, and then tried to break it out. And then I went, oh, where's lunch? And it like ended up feeling really, really over structured. And so my request is, let's go with trusting that if you call a play space, that a whole heap of energy is going to come around you and we'll enjoy our play space. Like that each session time is only a mark for whatever could be held in that container. And it could be that we spend the weekend in art space. It could be, because that's what's calling. Like, let's see what's calling and put the proposals in front of each other and see what, yeah. I really,
I wonder.
I think it's really important that you keep naming it and claiming it and bringing it forward for us. Thank you.
What I
Yeah,
can hear, sorry, you go.
sorry, go on, Irene. No,
I
you
was
go.
just going to say, having a context that it's play, like the background is play, that each of the things that you go in will be based in play and exploring and adventuring.
I
That
love
kind of like everything will be playful. There'll be play in everything.
I get that. I think it's also the word harvest. You're just making me realize it's part of the wording. If it was gathering, I feel more open. Harvest is final. It's where you complete. Gathering is where you're bringing.
Could
up.
I?
So yeah,
I think I'd like to. I feel called to share. Thank you for clarifying the stimulus for you. That had it be work, not and you're longing to have the creativity and the spontaneity and play. Harvest is a term from NVC. This is where jargon can be helpful and maybe not so helpful if people aren't connected to it. It's, and I'm hearing your suggestion of the word gathering. It's the intention of the word harvest, or what I understand from it, is that it is, okay, so that was great. And what are we taking from it? What are we harvesting from that experience? What insights do we have? What actions are going forward? It's a bit like just taking from that particular, what crop grew in that session. It's, so now I'm trying to convince you, I think.
So maybe the first day should be gathering and the second day should be harvest.
I'm open to that. I think what I'm noticing is that in an open space when we're all together, it's probably more easeful to just draw and write and put and collect on an open space harvesting sheet from each session. And the way that I'd imagined it was that then we would be able to bring that sheet back to the main group at the end of the day and have like a big open room at the end of the day where each group that's had a session together can sort of share back in to the main circle. So we learn together from what happens in each of the sessions. And I'm happy if that happens on the second day. If we just throw ourselves into it in the first day and end up doing more of the capturing in the second day of like, where will this take us? What are our insights? So I'm hearing that what you'd really enjoy is much more the free play space first, and then the capturing and maybe the gathering of the wisdom on the day two. Did I get it?
And yeah, perhaps. I don't know. Gathering gives me such feminine images, and it connects to wise women on a deep level, and that's why I'm going gathering. And I get your connection to harvesting, and even the sense of how you gather the information, like using a mind map rather than a structured sheet. Open more freedom in the gathering or the harvesting, whatever you want to call it, but it opens up more possibilities for me. That's what I feel.
All right, and I have a mind map suggestion straight come to mind. So yep, okay, I hear you, and I'm holding harvesting and gathering as the pair words.
Yeah, I get the pair. Sorry.
Pair words that actually hold this concept of us gathering the feedback to take with us in the journey forward. That's, yeah, thank you. That's awesome. Is there more? And then we might do our checkout round. Okay, let's do that. Let's just say goodbye for today and look forward to playing some more in this inquiry space on Friday night. when we get back together.
Are we all ready?
Sorry.
No, go, Cheryl, go.
I can come for the first half hour on Friday, but I can't stay because evenings are very much family time. So I'll drop in,
Okay.
just letting you know ahead of time. I won't be staying long. So
Okay. Well, that's fine. That's great. That'll help us connect with you, and then we'll know that when we get together on Saturday that you'll be with us.
yeah,
Awesome.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and bless you all.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Checkouts.
Check out. Cheryl's words about play are really landing with me, and it adds like this much more sense of fun. So I'm all for any redrafting of the words of from session to playtime, and from the documents to the visual thing instead. I think that just adds a really light touch to it. So that's feeling really alive.
Yay. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. What I get a sense of is we're actually doing the play space here now, right now. You know, like we're
The play
being,
space.
yeah. So
Open space.
open space. Yeah, we're being that now. Kind of. That's what it seems like to me.
Being
There's
there.
actually collaboration and
Yeah. Everybody
working it out together
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's my sense too. Thanks.
For you, Shiz?
Oh, I don't know. Well, when you showed the form, I must admit, I had seen it before, but I hadn't. I saw the flip chart page with all the movement and stuff, and I thought, oh gosh, couldn't we? Like, I've got a flip chart easel here, and can we find a way to do that rather than do the?
Yeah, that's lovely.
I kind of shrank, and
Yeah,
yeah. So
I'm excited. I think
yeah.
there's much more fun about doing it that way. Thank you.
Yeah, like exploring how can we do our harvest, our information feedback, whatever. How can we share what came out of what we just did, what we just experienced? You know, it's kind of being in the question and seeing what creativity emerges, because I think it could be more fun. Yeah. Thanks, Cheryl. And well, just before I go, Karen shared with me that you are also called Shez.
Yes.
And that because I'm Shez, you decided to be Cheryl in this space. And that gave, I have been toying with the idea of being Shez Elena, because Elena is my middle name. And that's been calling me for a long time. And I thought, well, I can embrace my Shez Elena in this space of transition, and you can be Shez. If you would like.
It's okay. It's just, I told them in the hub because I knew it wouldn't impact you, and it's fine. But you're so sweet to offer that. Very sweet.
It's important to me that that it works. Well, just that you be you and be seen to be you. I just know how much it meant to me when I asked people to call me Shez, and they did. I just melted. So that's a strategy that I love. Like, it was an opportunity for me to grow into Shez Elena, because I've been playing with it for, I don't know, over a year, maybe 18 months, could be 2 years.
So I wonder whether we'll see Shez Elena at the conference now.
Yeah.
And maybe
Shez
Elena. Yay. Okay.
I even feel called to maybe reconsider the language of conference. Just saying.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough.
With what Barbara said, I'm like, oh, what else could we call it?
Yeah.
Gathering.
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 Is that what you said, Shez?
Because, well, the words The words conference came because I was trying to make a distinction between our retreats, which are outward facing, and our community development conference, which is where the words came from, but that it's an internal facing. And now that feels so dead. I'm like, yeah, let's call it gathering. We're calling it gathering now. It's no longer a conference. I'm gonna Yay. All right. Well, lots of love.
Wise Women Gathering.
Yes, Wise Women Rising Gathering. Gathering and rising.
Okay.
Bye for now. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.